So let's try to solve a few problems based on algebraic expressions. Let's say Jim has $2 more than Travis. So Travis will always have $2 more than Jim, okay? So if let's say Jim has $10, then Travis must have, so how much must Travis have, right? So then this should imply that Travis has $12, right? Because he has $2 more. And if Jim has M dollars, so let's imagine Jim has M dollars, then that should imply that Travis has $2 more. So if we want uh, Travis to have two more dollars, that means he should have how many dollars? M plus 2, because that's a relation, because we found that Jim has two more dollars, so we must have M plus 2 dollars here, right? Very simple. Let's try another little problem. So let's say we have 3 boxes of chicken wings, and each box contains P chicken wings. So you want to express the chicken wings, the total number of chicken wings, okay? So if you want to express the total number of chicken wings, so let's try to write um, total wings. So how many total wings are there? Well, if you want to write the total number of chicken wings, that's going to be equal to 3 multiplied by P, because here's the 3 boxes, each contain P wings. So this really means, and the way we write it usually is as 3P. What we do is we really skip the multiplication sign. So we just write it as 3P. Okay? But it really means 3 multiplied by P. So now, let's say if P is equal to 7. So let's say P is equal to 7, which means each box contains 7 wings. So that means the total number of wings would be equal to 3 multiplied by 7, which would be equal to 21 wings. Okay? Let's try another problem. And before we do that, let's look at the concept of averages. So let's say you are going to buy 3 books, and let's say the books are going to cost, so there's book 1 which cost maybe $3, and then you had book 2 which cost $5, or maybe $6. So let's say $7. So let's say you had $7, and then you had a book which cost you $2. Okay. So now what does it mean? So, well, it means that the total money spent, the total money. So if you figure out the total money, that's just going to be 3 plus 7 plus 2, which is $12. So now we're going to define something called the average, and the average is very simply defined to be, it's the total money, it's going to be the total over the number of books. So that's going to be equal to 12 over 3. So the average is equal to $4. Remember, we had $3, $7, and $2. So the average is $4. What do I mean by the average? I exactly mean the total divided by the number of books. So we could have had a different scenario. So here's a different scenario. Let's say I bought books for, maybe the first book was for $6. Then I bought another book for maybe $4, and then I bought a book for $2. But the total money, again, if I look at the total money, it's still equal to $12, which means the average, which is equal to the total over the number of books, is still equal to 12 over 3, and that's still equal to $4. So the average, the individual amounts can be different, right? I mean, 3, 7, and 2 are not the same as 6, 4, and 2. But the average is still the same because the total was the same and the number of books, 3, and the number of books here, 3, were the same. Okay, so that's the concept of average. So now let's look at a problem. Let's say if you bought 3 books for $12, So let's say the total cost. So I'm just telling you the total cost. So if I tell you the total cost is equal to $12 and the number of books is equal to 3, this means the average cost will be equal to 12 over 3, which is equal to $4. Okay. Now let's say the total cost is not 12 but is equal to m. So let's say the total cost is not 12 but is m, but the number of books is still 3. So what's the average cost? Well, the average cost should then be equal to, remember what we had here, the cost was 12, so the average was 12 over 3. If now the cost is m, the average is going to be m over 3, right? So for example, if m is 12, then it evaluates to 12 over 3. If m is 15, it would get evaluated to 15 over 3. Okay?